name's Lavene and I've been designing bespoke knitwear garments for the last 40 years. After about 20 years I decided I needed to actually break down the many processes I was doing into 10 key points. I've always done my patterns in a visual format because it's just easier to follow and make the garments quickly. So today I'm going to be showing you 1 and 2 of those first 10 keys, and we're calling this Designer Direct series. So this is the first 1 and 2. We're going to start off with key 1, which is how to cast on. It's a different sort of cast on, it's an E-wrap cast on, but there is a reason why I do it like I do. It's to make that cast on edge as loose as possible, because lots of my garments are knitted sideways. The cast on and the cast off need to be equal in stretchiness. This is a domestic single bed knitting machine, and all flat bed knitting machines have got 200 needles. There's a nought in the centre of the machine, and then there's multiples of 10 going to 100 both ends. I'm going to pull forward 20 needles each side of that nought to form the beginnings of the cast on. And I'm going to take the carriage from right to left and then left to right. So what that enables to happen is that the needles, they've got little latches, and it makes the latches stick up, so it's much easier for the next process, which is I'm going to grab the yarn, secure it onto a clamp and start an E-wrap cast on. Pulling down to give myself a little bit of slack and taking the yarn in front of the latch and pushing the needle back. Bringing the needle forward in front of the latch and pushing the needle back. And just making a nice straight line. Trying to ensure that the needle head, this base bit of the needle, sits back. Just go along slowly, and you get to feel with your fingers that they are in fact level, and then you get quick at it, or quicker. If you're left-handed, you would probably find it easier to do the other way, from right to left, but I'm right-handed, so I'm doing left to right. Next thing we're going to do is take the yarn and put it into the carriage. So releasing the yarn, putting the yarn into the feeder. On this machine, which is a Knitmaster 323, it fits in number 1. Now I'm just going to pull the yarn so that it's tight and creates a bit of tension. Next step is to bring the needles forward, and then I'm going to knit a row. And I do this process 4 times, and I will explain why in a minute. Let's go ahead with the first step, which is bringing all the needles forward, holding them down. So you can do 1 at a time. It's to ensure that the stitches stay on, and this is the loosest cast on I can possibly come up with, or have come up with over the years. It just gives a bit more stretch. Get to the end, nice and loose. Then I'm going to put my hand on the carriage and knit 1 row, then bring the needles forward. I'm going to do this 4 times. And now I'm going to add a weight. Because I've actually created a depth 4 rows, this is enough depth for me to add a weight. And I'm just going to pop it as low as possible, but hanging over the piece that I've just knitted. Then I'm going to put one on the other side. And also with this yarn, it's a bit jumpy, it's viscose, so I'm going to put one in the middle as well. And what we've done here is created enough depth that the carriage can now go across easily without the sinker bar touching the weight. This process is represented by a green line, so I'm going to knit a bit more and then I'll show you a red line, which is how to cast off. So now we're going to go to key 2, which is represented by a red line, and that's how to cast off. So first of all, we've got our piece of knitting hanging on the machine. We need to take the yarn out of the carriage. Give yourself a little bit of slack so you've got a nice loose edge. And now we need to use a transfer tool. We'll just be using the top of the transfer tool on this one, which has just got one eyelet. So, grabbing the yarn and the piece that we've just knitted, we're going to take the transfer tool and we're going to bring holding it back, we're going to pull it forward and back, and that put the stitch onto the next needle. So those 2 stitches go behind the latch, wrap the yarn in front of the latch, and then pull it through. Let's do that again. So we're bringing it towards yourself and then pushing it back so it goes onto the transfer tool. Transfer it over, so now you've got 2 stitches on 1 needle. Wrap the yarn round in front of the latch, so when you pull it back it closes and pulls it through. After 3 or 4 stitches, I'm going to put a weight on because we want this edge to be as loose as possible, because we can always make something tighter but we can't make it looser once it's too tight, so loose is good. Okay, so we've added the weight to help with extra weight. Again, holding the fabric that we've created, bringing the needle, putting the transfer tool onto the needle, bringing it forward and back and transferring it over, and then we're knitting 2 together. So the little saying to yourself is quite good, is pull it forward and back, transfer over, knit 2 together. Bring it forward and back, transfer it over and knit 2 together. So we've created a chain. So casting off is just a chain across, sealing the stitches. So that's how you cast off, and that is always represented on my patterns, my visual patterns, as a red line. That completes key 1 and key 2, casting on and casting off. In the next video we're going to be covering 3 and 4, which is slip